A handcuffed daredevil barely escapes a death-defying freefall.
This is a crazy stunt to pull. One false move and you're dead.
A family of stunt riders risked their lives in this too close for comfort race.
Any little mistake and you're going to have an 8-bike pileup. Someone could die.
And a daring rocket man's flight seems to skirt gravity to reach record heights.
This is science fiction turned reality.
Whether fact, fake, or fluke. We'll dissect these amazing web videos and break down the science behind them. Right now on Superhuman Science.
I'm about to jump out of an airplane, locked in a pair of Smith & Wesson 100 handcuffs to my waist, and do a blindfolded. See you on the ground.
Escape artist Scott Hamill likes to cheat death to the extreme.
This is a crazy stunt to pull. One false move and you're dead.
Plummeting to Earth at around 200 kilometers per hour, Scott has just seconds to pick a tiny handcuff lock, free his hands, and deploy his chute. Any delay could cost him his life.
And then if that wasn't enough, once his parachute is pulled, he is gliding gently down, blindfolded.
To help Scott land, his crew directs him over a radio.
He has no way of knowing where to go other than a friend on an earpiece saying go left, go right, and he just has to trust that friend.
But something goes wrong. His earpiece doesn't work.
If this is not a panic situation, I don't know what is.
Scott, still blindfolded, has one last chance to land safely. He's guided in by an air horn from his ground crew.
If he doesn't hear that blowhorn, he doesn't know where the ground is.
And he survives the landing.
He could have suffered significant injury and potentially death.
So how does he face potential death and not panic?
He has to just tell himself, I know exactly what I'm doing. When you panic, your heart rate goes up, your oxygen consumption increases, and quite frankly, you can't think clearly. He keeps his heart rate down, and he stays very relaxed and calm.
That way he overcomes the brain's fight-or-flight neurotransmitters that alert us to danger.
And that's especially important when a stunt goes wrong.
In an earlier mind-blowing stunt, Scott is sealed tight in a straitjacket, 15 meters of steel chain, and 4 padlocks.
I can't believe I'm actually doing this, man.
I can't believe you're doing it either, Scotty.
He has to escape while dangling from a hot air balloon high above the earth.
If I pass out up there, a couple minutes without oxygen to my brain, and I could either die or suffer severe brain damage.
The longer he hangs upside down, the more blood runs to his head, and the more likely it is he's going to pass out.
When we're standing upright, the heart pumps blood to the carotid artery, carrying fresh oxygen to the brain. Once the oxygen is used up, gravity pulls that blood through the jugular vein back to the heart. But when we're upside down, gravity can't do its job.
There's no set time that someone can tolerate being upside down. I may only tolerate 30 seconds, somebody else may tolerate a minute.
It's hard to tell how long Scott's body can truly tolerate this position.
Yeah, he's out. He's out.
He's timed this very well. He knows how long it takes him to get out of the straitjacket. He knows that he can do it upside down, and he knows that he can do it while dangling a kilometer above the earth.
This is not good for my fear of heights.
You all right? You got it? Oh, hang on. Okay, it's all right, buddy. Just hold on.
Hurry, hurry.
Hurry.
If he falls, he's dead.
Yeah, Scotty.
Because I was afraid of heights at the time, I just wanted to get through it. All I could do was just escape.
Scott thrives on danger, and all of his stunts are spectacular. But our experts stop short of calling him superhuman.
It's not really superhuman, but it's still an incredible stunt.
Maybe not superhuman, but I would say super brave.
From escape artist freefalls, we shift next to a potentially deadly traffic jam in a cage. Under the big top, 4 fearless members of the Torres family risk death. They ride inside a treacherous steel cage, all at the same time. At breakneck speeds.
They're driving at over 100 kilometers per hour inside this sphere.
Being in this cage is very dangerous and potentially deadly.
As the stunt builds, they open the door to another motorcycle.
The orchestration for this stunt is critical. It's life or death for these bikers.
And before it's over, they bring in 3 more.
It's hard enough getting 8 people to decide where to go to dinner together, let alone getting them in such unison that they can do this stunt.
What's most unbelievable is that the diameter of the sphere is only 4.9 meters.
This is not being done in some gigantic globe that they can all kind of leisurely ride around. Any little mistake and you're going to have an 8-bike pileup. Someone could die.
To survive a ride in this globe of steel, they need intense focus and lightning-fast reflexes. They also have to use physics to their advantage.
As the bikers move around in the sphere, they're experiencing a centripetal force, which is pushing them towards the center every time they move around.
While a centrifugal force keeps objects on a circular path flying away from the center, these bikes are moving at uniform speed towards the center. And that makes this a centripetal force.
That force is actually a reaction from the bike itself. It's pushing into the metal's pushing back. It's also balancing against the force of gravity that's pulling it down and the static force of friction that's holding it up.
You know this should work for the same reason that when you put water in a bucket and attach a rope, you can swing that bucket and you know the water's not going to come out. The same forces are at play in this trick.
The faster they go, the greater the force.
The centripetal force is equal to the mass of a bike times the velocity it's going squared divided by the radius of the circle it's making. So the faster it's going, the more it's going to get pushed by the metal.
You can't do this stunt slowly. That's the catch.
And the greater the force, the more they can do.
We see that they first start by going around the equator of this sphere, and they do that because they have to build up velocity before they're able to go upside down.
If they're on the equator, they have to go going fast enough to make sure they can maintain that circle.
You have to hit a minimum threshold and get above that with your speed before you can take advantage of centripetal force.
They have to go faster or they're going to crash to the ground.
They're moving so fast that the eyes can barely keep up. But their motor choreography is beyond precise.
They have to communicate with each other to make it work. And they do that by a series of whistles or engine revs to let each other know what they're doing.
The Torres family puts on a mind-blowing, death-defying display of speed and blinding motion. But are they superhuman?
They may not be superhuman, but they're super synchronized and super fearless.
From a high-speed, high-risk motorcycle race, we switch next to a rocket man in his flying machine. And still ahead, these guys claim to be the first to walk on water since you know who. And a record-setting handstand race to become the fastest man on Earth on crutches. In Scotland, a real-life rocket man lifts up from a cloud of steam and speeds across the sky.
You know, it's stunning that this is real.
This is a very cool example of science fiction turned reality.
The man in that jetpack is American Eric Scott.
I'm the Go Fast jetpack pilot.
Radar clocks Eric's flying speed at almost 110 kilometers per hour. But can we trust what we see?
If you were to fake this, you could have someone dangling from a wire in all of these shots, and then in edit, go back and paint out the wire in each scene. But he's in front of a live audience and camera crews. That's very authentic. There's no faking it with wires there.
This pseudo-superhero's flight is the real deal. So how does Eric defy gravity? Our experts take a closer look at the science of flight.
This is not a jetpack, it's something called a rocket belt, which operates differently than a jetpack.
There's a reaction going on that's creating a lot of pressurized air.
As its fuel, it uses hydrogen peroxide, which it combines with a pressurized liquid nitrogen source.
The chemical reaction generates hot pressurized air that delivers about 800 horsepower or 1,300 newtons of thrust.
This is water becoming superheated and superheated steam blasting the user off the ground.
So the air will come down out through the bottom of the jetpack and push him up into the air.
This is not a combustion reaction.
Once Eric is airborne, he steers with hand controls. But his movement is restricted and the risks are steep.
You'll notice that he never flies horizontally, and he can't, because even though the jetpack would push him forward, he has nothing to give him lift. He can't stay in the air. Gravity would just pull him down and he'd crash to the ground.
The main forces of flight are thrust, drag, lift, and weight. Thrust propels something forward. Drag is air resistance that slows horizontal motion. Lift keeps something aloft, while weight or gravity pulls it down vertically.
He comes back down by letting up on the throttle so that he doesn't have as much lift and can let gravity win and take him downwards.
The biggest drawback of the rocket belt is the limited fuel supply.
These jetpacks really consume a high volume of fuel.
Eric's maximum fuel supply gives him about 30 seconds of flying time.
But the faster he goes, the faster he uses the material inside, because you need that steam to come out more quickly to make him go faster.
It's lights out from that point if you run out of fuel in midair.
But flying over traffic and leaping buildings in a single bound requires a hefty wallet.
Fuel costs about $50 or $60 per liter, and you need 25 liters to be in the air for 30 seconds.
So it's a very pricey way to commute for now.
Maybe 50 years from now, it's going to be cheaper and easier, and everyone will have jetpacks.
Eric Scott has been flying jet belts for more than 20 years. So is this superhuman or super science?
I'm not sure if he's superhuman, but I think the technology is superhuman.
Super science, not superhuman.
From a high-flying rocket man, we move next to a life-threatening juggling feat. American extreme juggler Nick Pike prepares for a risky and preposterous stunt.
I'm going to be juggling this axe, this knife, and this meat cleaver. This is about the thickness of the bone in my finger. Real knife.
To up the ante, he'll walk on a bed of broken glass while he juggles, and he'll do it all blindfolded.
So there are sharp things under his feet, there are sharp things in his hands, there are sharp things moving around. So many ways this clip could go wrong.
These are very dangerous stunts that no one who is untrained should try to do.
If walking on glass wasn't dangerous enough while juggling, he decides to juggle a meat cleaver.
Come on! Nick survives his stunt without even a scratch. So how does he do it? Our experts start with the science. First, walking on glass.
If you have a large pile of glass, those shards of glass are able to move away. They're able to adjust to your feet.
Then there's the way he walks on glass.
He's distributing his weight over the different pieces of glass, making sure there aren't any sharp pieces that will go directly into his foot.
This greatly reduces his chance of getting cut. Add the blindfold to the stunt, and Nick's grasp of juggling science is even more impressive.
There's a component of muscle memory that's required here, in addition to a high level of hand-eye coordination.
Intrinsically, within your body, you have to know with muscle memory how hard to throw. And at some point, you can do this with your eyes closed, and that's how he's able to do it blindfolded.
Nick's attraction to peril seems to be limitless.
When you have 2 tennis balls and a chainsaw, clearly they're not of equal mass, and so the level of difficulty increases significantly here.
His advantage is that he understands the physics of the objects he's juggling.
He's got to be able to know how quickly that object will spin in the air, the angular velocity of that object, such that when it comes back into his hand, he's able to catch it with the right end.
The chainsaw, you accidentally grab by the blade and you're done juggling.
Nick is clearly a juggling pro with a freaky taste for danger, But is he superhuman?
Is this superhuman? Absolutely. Juggling these very dangerous instruments is extremely impressive, and doing it while you're walking on glass and blindfolded.
From knives in the air, we flip to feet in the air for an upside-down race on crutches. On a running track in Ethiopia, an unusual record attempt unfolds.
My name is Tamru Zagaye. Today I want to mark a world record.
He's attempting to walk further than anyone else has ever walked on crutches. But he'll do it all while upside down in a handstand, and all in just 60 seconds.
He's using arms as legs with crutches, which makes it even harder.
You can see that this is physically possible, but it's still amazing.
His only connections to the ground are the 2 points of his crutches. Our experts take a closer look at the science behind this feat.
The one thing you'll notice while he's walking along the track is that his legs are actually canted forward.
He has to use his feet as a means of balancing. If he's falling forward, he moves his feet back. If he's falling backwards, he moves his feet forward.
With a raised center of gravity, Tamaru has no sensory input from his feet. He must rely on his eyes and ears for balance.
He's using visual stimuli to figure out if is he moving too quickly, or is he gonna fall over, or is he moving too slowly and he's gonna fall back.
So a level head is paramount, which can be tough even when you're right side up.
He's quite dependent on his vestibular system to maintain balance.
That system in the inner ear is a little like water in a bathtub. And any movement of the fluid gives the brain clues about steadying balance. But things get tricky when balance is turned upside down.
When you're upside down, your body can still pump the blood around, but it might not be as efficient. Because your head is lower than your heart, you may get lower levels of circulation in your head at that point.
Arteries pump blood away from the heart. Veins circulate it back and rely largely on gravity. That could spell trouble for Tamaru if he stays in this position for too long.
Blood would start to rush and maybe pool into his head. He could become very disoriented.
Staying upside down for an extended period poses other challenges as well.
His entire body weight is distributed along his palm, and so that's a great deal of stress on his wrist joint, on his elbows, and his shoulders. The stamina that's required to do that, it's really an impressive feat.
Tamaru's feat surpasses the record, covering 76 meters in just 1 minute.
How do you feel?
Just faint, because of happiness.
He might not be superhuman, but in Ethiopia they call him the Miracle Man.
I would say there's something special about him.
It's pretty inspiring.
From walking on hands, we turn next to walking on water in a stunt that makes it hard to believe your eyes. In Wisconsin, USA, 2 amateur athletes attempt the miraculous, walking on water. And they've dubbed this sport hydro sprinting.
Unbelievable. I mean, the fact that they're able to generate enough speed to walk or run on water, unreal.
You watch them struggle and try, and you really want them to be running on water, and eventually you see that they're taking steps out into the water.
I gotta say, I've tried out a lot of sports ever since I was young. I know basketball, football, baseball, and I really have never loved the sport as much as I love hydro sprinting. Neither have I.
Could this be possible? Is it real?
When I'm trying to see if there's visual effects that have happened in this shot, I take a look at the lighting. I take a look at the reflections on the water. I take a look at the splashes and how the splashes affect the rest of the water. I don't see any signs that this video has been digitally manipulated.
So if the video is not manipulated, are they really running on water? Our experts weighed in.
There are certain rules on this earth that we have to abide by, certain physics, and this certainly does not abide by those rules.
I love the implication that this is all about training. As long as you train, you can defy the laws of physics.
It all seems vaguely believable.
Maybe you've seen one of those great lizards that can actually run across the water. Or maybe you've watched insects on a pond and you can see them standing up on water and you wonder why not us? Why can't we do this?
The simple answer is, we're too big.
We weigh too much, and our feet are too small relative to how much we weigh.
So bugs are able to exploit that because they're really tiny.
And for the high-stepping basilisk lizard or Jesus lizard, it's all about the feet.
It has special structures on its feet that allow it to keep the surface tension steady on the water, and it can run across the surface of the water.
Whether or not it is lizard's feet that are keeping our hydro sprinters afloat, our experts aren't buying it.
If you look at the water from an angle, the light can bounce off the water and act like a mirror. What you don't see underneath the water is perhaps a hidden bridge.
So imagine a strip of land that goes out in the water with just maybe a few centimeters of water on top, enough that when you step in the water, you don't see that you're stepping on the land.
It turns out this video is a hoax. Our hydro sprinters admit they're running on an underwater sandbar.
We actually realized that in order to do this, all you really need is about this much of water and then just
2-3 inches of water.
And then just like a sandy bottom.
And you can really run almost as long as you want to.
That's all this is, camera perspective and a nice little bridge of land right under the surface of the water.
While this is not even close to superhuman, it is definitely super entertaining.
You sit there and you're like, no, this is not real. But could it be?
It's harder to do something fake and pull it off and make it look like it's an actual athletic event, so kudos to them.
It was well done. A hoax, but well done.